A very good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Morning at 10 TV. It's Monday. We are taking this month slowly by slowly because it's the 22nd of November 2021. Thank you so much for waking up with us. It's a brand new week and we are streaming across all the platforms. So if you're on your way to work or just anywhere, you can head over to YouTube or Facebook and just search for NTV Uganda and you'll be watching the show live. So it's time to get into our conversation, which is quite sensitive because lives have been lost. But why not? We'll have to talk about it and face it as the country, because on the 24th of October, Uganda experienced its first explosion. Not really fast to mean first ever, but I mean in the recent days. And that was in Komamboga. Now, since then, 3 explosions have since happened. I'm talking about, do not forget the last week, the 2 explosions that did happen at Parliamentary Avenue and CPS. Now, since then, a couple of suspects have been shot dead and a number of people have been arrested. The president, while he was talking to the nation, that's on Saturday, he talked about over 80 suspects that have since been arrested, and that's the discussion we'll be having. We'll be talking about the manner in which the people have been arrested. We'll be talking about the manner in which those who have been shot have been shot. Different stories have been coming in. Police says one thing, and when NTV tries to talk to the eyewitnesses, they're saying something quite different. Now, joining me in studio to talk about this and so much more, I have Ssegona, the Busiro East Member of Parliament, but he's not just alone because I also have Nathan Byanyima, the MP for Bukanga North. Gentlemen, welcome to Morning at NTV.
Thank you and good morning.
Allow me to say this, when the show was just starting, we're talking about the ties they're wearing. And because we thought he would be in a yellow tie because that's something we are used to, but that's different today. Nathan, what's that? You were telling me about yellow being so bright.
I'm free to put on any color of it that suits my suit and shirt. So,
for easy identification?
Yeah, no, not really. To be smart, that's all. But when the time comes for that yellow shirt or T-shirt or yellow kanzu, please, I will put it on, but not now.
All right, let's get straight into the discussion. And Nathan,
I can tell you that Nathan is not telling the truth. You know, he loves being smart. That's why he cannot put on that yellow necktie.
So, let's get straight into the discussion. Please. Nathan, I will start with you. I mean, all this time, NRM has been talking about peace. Pretty much, that's what they brag about most. Here we are, 2 explosions in just one last week. What's that? What do you have to tell us anymore?
For peace, I think there's no question about it. We have enjoyed peace. But when some sporadic cases come, of course, we must be together. To me, I appreciate the efforts by the security forces. Of course, with the president, the fountain of honor, and the commander-in-chief. We have yes, it is true, we have enjoyed peace in this country. But of course, of recent, we are all touched. Equally, anybody in this country. Because I have always been saying that it is always good to feel for other people. We are all Ugandans. Americans normally say, an attack on one American means an attack on all Americans, and you have seen it. So I feel Ugandans, a number of Ugandans died recently, and we are really sorry about what happened. All of us are touched.
Because when you look at the places where the explosions happened, Nathan, Parliamentary Avenue, yes, those are places that an ordinary Ugandan thinks are quite secure, really. So when an explosion happens at Parliamentary Avenue, that's quite a statement.
Yes, it could be, but these people, the way they have come, all of us were shocked to see Ugandans giving up their lives to die and kill others. Nobody would have suspected, even if you had a lot of security, whatever security you have, those people, the way they came, you couldn't have easily detected them. Somebody has said that our intelligence is not intelligent. No. Our intelligence has done a good work. Some of us who are not experienced in defense, in the security matters, we don't want to go in that area so much. But we always believe that when something comes, it should bring us together to find out a solution. To me, I'm concerned about what happened. The people lost lives, people lost property. Actually, I would think the government, by now, on top of tightening the security and doing everything, some team should, especially one of the departments of the government, should look ahead and see who are these people who lost lives and property, especially at the city square and even here on Parliamentary. By the way, those people, even if they had tried, they will not have entered parliament.
And you talked about, this is something I want us to go back to later. You talked about Ugandans accepting, talking about the suicide bombers, you know, to lose their lives. And I want us to discuss how we got here, because really you're thinking, by the time someone accepts to just let their life go like that, that's also something we have to discuss. Because if that is not sorted, then we are going to have a problem.
It must be sorted. Him and I, where I can't talk about government, we are the government people really. Because for us, we have the platform in even
You're
the
the people in
constituency.
power.
Yes, we are the people in power. With him, we are together. We are in parliament together. The government cannot do any decision. The decisions are made by us for them to implement. If they implement them in a fishy manner, that's a different situation. But we can know that our youth are definitely not in good shape. By the time somebody does that one, of course, that's a high level of disparity. And definitely, we know our youth. We know our youth. We have government has done what is possible. The roads have been done, power has been given, but of course, we must put an extra eye now.
Let me bring in Honorable Ssegona. Like he said, some Ugandans are questioning if our intelligence forces are really intelligent.
First of all, I've never accused them of being intelligent. But one thing I know is that the word intelligence, in this case, contextualized properly, means that they are meant to collect and analyze intelligence.
And prevent.
Detect crime
things.
and prevent.
Exactly.
I will not run into the blame game fast, but I want to say again, like I've said before, it's unfortunate that we lost lives, that we lost Ugandans, innocent at that. They told us 7. Now plus these 2 they have murdered. Those are 9 Ugandans we have lost in relation to this bombing. Our condolences to the bereaved families, and our sympathies to those that are still nursing wounds. We also express sympathies to those that have lost business and those that have been inconvenienced by security as a result of this. Number one, I think security is an intricate job.
Yes.
We've got to appreciate it's a difficult job, especially when you're talking about somebody who has a duty to protect life and property on the one hand, and therefore be alert and aggressive, but at the same time to maintain a level of orderliness and a good PR for the image of the institution. Somebody will come and say, hello, good morning, as he's greeting you, exchanging pleasantries, picks a bayonet and kill you. So it's a difficult job. Number 2, I think it was the grace of God. It could have been much worse.
Yes.
He's saying they could not have entered parliament. It was very possible then. It's not possible today to enter the way they wanted to enter, because that time the doors of parliament were open. So a suicide bomber could get to the security checkpoint as they are going into the usual routine checking. He takes off with his bag, and he could have detonated the bomb somewhere.
Just while they're trying to chase them.
Yes, as they're trying to chase. Number 2, especially then, it was difficult that you would imagine if somebody starts running, the reaction of the police would be to shoot.
Yeah.
No, it would be a chase or interception by those that were inside. Now it is a little more guarded because the doors are kept closed, at least one of them. Then they have to open for you when you have cleared with security. That is not to say that we should proudly, risk those men and women in uniform at the front door of Parliament. But it was God's grace. Even CPS, it was possible to detonate it a little inside, more inside, and that would be dangerous.
And the biggest worry, Honorables, is that we have COVID.
Correct.
So before the explosions, the attention, even at checkpoints of any big places, seemed to have changed.
No, we have enough problems. starting with the president, we have COVID, Yes.
So that I'm talking about the attention on gates.
I am listing my list. I'm giving you my list of problems Uganda has.
Honorable, I am saying the attention on gates and checkpoints had shifted, you know, from bombs and checking these cars to, do you have your mask?
Yes, you have the mask. But let me tell you, so it is wrong for us to simply blame our security, our men and women in uniform, that no, you could have detected. No. Thinking deeper, yesterday but one, I was listening to radio, and they were talking about, actually social media. There were children they were sending, I think it was flying around. The depiction was that these children were being indoctrinated and trained into terrorism. When I looked at these children, I asked a question. We've been losing our children disappearing, and I don't know if security had picked that as a security issue beyond the ordinary crime of child sacrifice. I think we are all duped into thinking that when those children disappear, it is child sacrifice. So we did not, I think we did not. So
you're suggesting that there actually could have been.
That's also a possibility. That's a possibility. Now, beyond this, I think is the question where you asked us to go deeper and say, look, what are the precipitating factors that would be responsible for this? I have explained before that there are economic, political, and social factors that would explain this new trend or trend.
But economic in what sense? That someone feels they've struggled economically so much that they don't find reason to live anymore, so it's okay to detonate a bomb?
You know, somebody said, was it Martin Luther? That a person who has nothing to die for has none to live for. You could be there, and for you, you literally have nothing apart from yourself. Now, the economic factors could be the joblessness that we experience. The social factors could include, this is socio-economic, the corruption, the endemic corruption in this country, where some people have eaten these children's future. They have eaten the schools, they have eaten the hospitals, they have eaten the jobs, they have eaten everything, literally, leaving these children with nothing. And I hope you get the context of what I'm putting across. These children become hopeless, in other words. They have nothing to live for. Somebody would have gone to school, but he lost his father, he lost his mother. There is no government to provide social security as a last resort. 2, the father was employed, he lost his job, there is no social security, nothing. The schools that we used to go to, the affordable ones, you can barely go beyond senior 2. Okay? Literally everything. Now, this person, another person better than that, sells his chibanja, goes to university, gets a degree, there is no job. Somebody gets some 50, 10, 100,000, goes to a window, does some, business, comes to trade on the streets of Kampala or wherever. KCCA comes and grabs the property, takes it, and it's that's end of business, that's end of life. Political, you know the situation. There are people who get angry. Yes, there are people who get angry. I was here the other time, and I told the Minister for State for Internal Affairs, I said, look, a man like the late Honorable General Pecos Kutesa wrote and said the only reason he went to the bush is that here is a man called Museveni, now Tibuhabua, through metamorphosis, who was arrested at Chireka at a roadblock, made to sit down. That one angered the Pecos and said, no, I will go and fight and remove this government. Now, when you mistreat citizens, there are those who will not contain it the same way.
And Honorable Ssegona, when you talk about mistreating citizens,
yes,
you draw us back to these things that have been happening, and we seem to sweep them under the carpet. Talk about the November riots. Those are things that happen, lives are lost.
That's why I'm coming.
And we don't see justice.
Exactly.
So
now,
that anger must be
I am now coming to the social bit. Okay? Economic, political. This is now political, social. You see people being murdered by the state, and nothing happens. People get angry. People get agitated and say, for what am I living? But beyond that, there is, I mean, you saw the November, those were not riots, those are demonstrations. And who caused the demonstrations? The government. You saw the killing of Yasin Kauma, you saw the killing of Zebra Senyange, now you have seen the killing of these two suspects. You see people being killed and nothing is done. And the killers are known.
Honorable, nothing was.
Socially, we have a duty also as parents. First, to restore hope in our children. Two, to bring them with fear of certain things. When we were growing up, we learned that suicide is abominable in our society. That if someone is found hanging, because that's all we knew, hanging himself, and first of all, an attempt to commit suicide is an offense. But committing suicide is not an offense. Why? Because the suspect is dead. They would cane the dead body. After caning it, they would dig a hole, not a grave. Cut the rope. You would fall in that, whatever in that hole. They would pour soil on you. That's not burial, but covering you. And all the associated rituals that would follow thereafter. So we feared suicide. Now these boys don't fear suicide. It seems, therefore, there's a level of indoctrination they go through. But beyond that, there are certain things which we can do. Security could have detected that there is suicide bombing coming. That's number one. Number two, the British warned us.
Yeah.
And they gave us places which were targeted. Now, our intelligence simply followed, went to put their eyes on those targets. Garden City, I think, I can't remember the other one. But even Garden City, they were not there. So I think they took it lightly. But nobody knew the extent, so I can't blame the security.
Honorable Nathan, you wanted to respond, especially when you talked about the social effects. And were saying, look, there are a number of things that are happening, so probably people's minds, they're probably going through some trauma, and that's why we are seeing people find it easy to detonate themselves or blow themselves up. How do we go about that?
No, really, him and I, and many others, and even you, I'm sure, you agree that we have a problem, of course, in this country, about the youth. Our population is a very fast-growing population. Almost 70%, 78% is 35 and below. Yeah. And that's the group where you will find most likely those people who are doing what they did. Because we have not put a lot of effort. We are not yet there because of the resource envelope, most likely, but this is the time, I think. This is an eye-opener for this country. I don't want to go into blaming anybody, like he said. We can't blame the security in this particular case. I think the people to blame is ourselves, the government, that really must make sure we cater for our youth. This people, as he's talking, of course, unemployment is all over the world. Yeah. But some countries have really have a financial muscle to cater for, especially through industries and what have you. But for us, those ones are lacking. And that's why this particular budget, I have seen the budget, which they passed. I wasn't there, but it is trying to promote industrialization, to have industrial sites all over the country, so that these young men and women can be absorbed. Even an opening, you have seen most of our youth going to the Arab countries. You know, you have seen
Nathan,
it.
When
you have seen
on paper, the plans look beautiful.
Yes.
I don't know why I don't know where they disappear from.
Normally, for us, we say, if you are not in the race with another person, you say, just let him fall down and you go ahead.
You also have it.
If I'm telling you, if, for example, their party went into this government, I can tell you some of the things are very difficult to handle.
No, now, I want us to talk
because of the resource envelope and because of the demands that our people have. You can have seen, for example, the districts. So many things, by the way. We have to look at these things critically and see what is the way forward for our country. What is good for this country.
I now want us to shift and talk about the people that have been shot dead, the suspects. The latest one being Chirevu. So police comes out and says, there is this statement that they always give us, put out of action, and the reason is they were trying to resist arrest. When we talk to the families say, look, he was shot when his handcuffs were already on. What explains
My
that?
dear daughter, I wouldn't want to go much about that one because any reasonable person would have, we are looking for those people responsible for this chaos. So why would you want to put him out of action without interrogating him? That would be the best practice.
That's what we are all trying to question.
But when they go ahead to kill him, I saw the people who are competent enough to talk on our behalf said it was proper. But some of us have other reservations. And I don't want to get into that one because I am not a security expert.
But Honorable, it's okay to express your reservations.
To me, I would say I would have loved to see that gentleman being arrested, interrogated, taken to court, and I'm sure we would have got more information. But of course, there are some errors. I don't think this government is perfect.
Honorable, you're talking about 4 suspects that have so far been shot with handcuffs on.
Yes, it's not good. I don't think I would recommend it. I don't think. Much as I'm another member of parliament, I can't support what is not good. No, what is good for him is good for me and you. But that one, of course, all of us would have thought it would have been good to arrest such a people. And the normal procedure, he's a lawyer, what should have been done. But since they opted for that option, possibly the circumstances prevailing at that particular time could have, forced them to do that. But I personally don't agree to that.
Honorable Meda, talk to me about that. And in the president's speech, he seemed to have insisted that they were resisting arrest, but the other side of the story says they already had. How does someone who has handcuffs try to resist arrest?
That's why I told you I listed my problems for this country, and his problem number 1. You see, Yoweri Museveni, in August this year, is the same man who said you don't have the right to beat.
Not even shout at a Ugandan.
No, beat a suspect. You don't even have the right to shout at a Ugandan. Now, one day back, is the same man justifying the killing of these people. And we must stop putting a lot of pressure, unwarranted and unreasonable pressure, onto our security forces. We want to see these people. Yes, we want to see the people who are responsible for this. But now you cause them to try to please the powers that be. They can pick you. As we were waiting outside here with Nathan, I told him, I had a young man at my house, Shaban, who had a beard. And my son, aged about 6 then, or 7, told him, Shaban, you have refused to cut off that beard. The police will arrest you and say you killed Kawesi.
Because it was...
Yes. Now, it is painful that people of a particular religious denomination, I don't want to use the word are targeted, but so far are the ones that have been arrested in this. To me, it is very painful. And that's not to say that if they commit offenses, they should not be arrested. Arrest every person you suspect, including me. But treat them in accordance with the law.
Yeah.
Number 1, Chirevu's children have explained that their father was picked from the house, handcuffed, and killed and shot. They told them, close the doors and sleep.
Next thing they had, gunshots.
Gunshots, and the man is dead. He's not the only one. This one of Katoke.
Yes.
Same thing. And they tell us, can you just tell me, the same man you're saying gave you information. He's the same man you said he succumbed to the bullets which had been fired at him
in
Bwaise to disable him. But you are able to pursue him up to his place. You're even able to get information from him. But you see, it's after information that
he dies.
That the man dies. Let's go back to Chirevu. What are the particulars of resistance? Because, 1, they did not recover a gun. So what did he use in resisting arrest? Did he fight them, box them? But there were many. they definitely should have overpowered him without necessarily shooting and resorting to the gun. 2, how did he get out of the house? Because the resistance would have been in the house. And I now want to take you to the scene of crime.
Yeah.
And the scene of crime is not Chirevu's house, but outside. And which crime are we talking about? We are talking about the crime of murder, murdering Chirevu. If Chirevu had resisted arrest, he would have resisted from inside the house. Because they must explain, did they knock and he came out? Did he resist from the house up to the compound, the courtyard where they shot and killed him from? No. To me, the story of the children is consistent with the hypothesis that Chirevu willingly surrendered. Number 3, and this is where I say our men of intelligence are not intelligent. They say Chirevu is a person who benefited from amnesty when he denounced ADF. He comes out of the bush. I thought it was incumbent on them to keep monitoring his activities for all this long.
Yeah.
That he's been training children
And running cells.
and running cells from where? Chirevu has been resident in Nsanje, in Katereke, and they didn't know. I think these people are just murderers. They are just using this opportunity to murder Ugandans that they have wanted to kill for a long time. And this is where I tell people like Nathan, Byanyima, myself, and others that have had problems with them to be very careful. They can use this to eliminate you because all they need to do is to create a situation in a location where you are.
And when you talk about using this,
Yes.
the other day I overheard a border rider saying, they were talking about the roads that are still closed, and they said, "Is that road still closed?" So I'm like, "Yes, it's closed." And like, yes, again, because when you saw you never cover stars, never gamble, you already moved to Jew.
Yes.
So you see the fear that people have,
Yes.
because they know anytime if anyone is shot now, the first explanation will be suspected terrorism.
Exactly. So you need to be very careful. Don't imagine yourself because you're NRM.
No.
Because you will come in.
Don't think that when we are here, or even when we are out there, there is a difference between me and you.
Absolutely
I have said
none.
definitely whatever is good for Honorable Ssegona and you, it's good for me.
I agree.
All of us, what we want is security to be maintained.
And I've said before.
But when there are some cases that come, we are really bound to criticize. But I would want us really to be, not to be so hard about the security people.
No, I'm very hard on them because
we don't know much about what they go through themselves.
I know a lot.
Ssegona, you and me, definitely,
I know
it's
a
our
lot
duty.
of what citizens being arrested go through.
And those whose people have been shot.
I'm also
Yes, I don't think anybody would be happy.
I am also, by the way, if anyone has been defending security,
It is you.
it's me.
I have always seen you.
But when it comes to matters of life, especially rights generally, but life in particular, no, you do not. I do not waver, because I have constructed the scene of crime for you. That there would have been 2 scenes of crime.
Yeah.
The first is resistance, which would have been in the house. And because this is not the first time, there's this guy Sebulime, who they said wanted to kill Nantaba.
Yes.
Honorable Nantaba. Sebulime was handcuffed properly, thrown into a police patrol, driven for some meters, removed on handcuffs, which were not broken, and they said the instructions have changed. They shot and killed Sebulime. Now, the trouble is when you get the president, the head of state, the commander-in-chief, to come out and justify, just wait, they're going to kill more tomorrow.
And honorables, there's something that is common in all these incidents. I'll give an example of Sebulime. Police comes and says he was trying to resist arrest. Same statement. NTV goes on the ground, and the eyewitnesses tell us that he was handcuffed and he was shot. They even say, the officers say there is an order from above.
Yes.
Here we have Chirevu. Police says he was resisting arrest. NTV goes on ground and they are told he was handcuffed and shot. So what does it say when police says something else and the eyewitnesses are saying something else? Because what explains the change?
You see, I saw a dark-skinned man in a black outfit, and this dark-skinned man is called Enanga, who was not at the scene. constructing something. And this time, by the way, as if he had prepared for this press briefing, there was he even put on a ceremonial uniform. He started telling us how the man was resisting arrest. It is, I want to know who has been working with Chirevu in terrorizing me. Now you kill Chirevu. Who is going to lead you to the other people? Because you're saying you were led to Chirevu by this man of Nansana. Is it Emma something? Okay? Now, you kill Chirevu before he gives you information. I think let them just confess murder. They simply murdered this man in cold blood. If he was a suspect, I don't know, because I didn't know Chirevu, the person. They knew him. But tell me the coincidence that all the people that got amnesty, denounced rebellion, have been killed under suspicious circumstances. Major Chigundu, She Chiria, She so-and-so, She so-and-so. There was a man who was, Ssegona, who was killed in Mengo. There was a man called Captain Musi. All those people have been killed. But I think
on those few sheikhs, I think the head of state was very clear. He said those people were killed by the ADF because they did not. That's what I'm quoting actually the head of state. He said they were killed because they did not want to cooperate with the other ADF people. So if it happens like that, of course, that one you and me don't know.
So they kill one,
no,
they kill two.
What I'm saying,
you can't protect the third, fourth, and
this
fifth.
recent one really leaves a lot to be desired. I can tell you really nobody would want to hear something like that. But as I said, since we are not so competent into the security, but at least we have something to say.
And Honorable,
we are saying it's not good because it would have given us more information about the people who are involved.
But who would give you information when he's the killer?
And we have a man on the ground. Stephen Bide is out there. He will be talking to the doctors. Like you said, we have many problems. The doctors are on strike now.
Oh yeah.
He's a man on the ground. He will be connecting to him much later because they say they don't have working tools. They've been promised salary increment for 5 years. So I'll be connecting to him much later. But I also want to now focus on this, on our intelligence, and I know we're not supposed to be hard on them. But the other day MPs visited a police barracks, and the houses are on the verge of crumbling. Now these are people we expect to have intelligence information and protect Ugandans. Yeah. We've seen them riot before over allowances. Some of them aren't.
No, their wives did it on their behalf.
And they were
instructed to go and tear gas their wives.
I said it, my dear. I said it. I said we don't know much about what happens behind.
No, we know.
This is the people. I'm sure their children would want to eat bread like my children, or my grandchildren. So at times the welfare of our society, our soldiers, is not up to date.
Okay.
People are.
So you agree with me? He agrees with my list of problems.
Take a very short break.
But not the first problem.
We're going to take a very short break. We're going to take a very short break. But when we return, we'll be talking about different things, including the lives of these security personnel, how much they earn, how they live, and whether this is also a factor in the way they do their things, okay? In the way they do their work.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning at NTV. There is a discussion that is going on in here off camera. Thanks to Inspire Africa Coffee for the amazing tea that you just gave me and the honorable MPs in studio. So let's move on. We're still talking about the current terrorism threat. And now I want us to focus on the financing of these security agencies as one of the factors. We're talking about their ways of life, how they live. And we're saying, does this affect how they do their work? We're talking about a police officer who didn't have breakfast, or they've had one meal in 2 days, and there is a protest.
Definitely, it is true. Because I think where we have reached, it is important that we also have to care for our security people. But good enough, when you see the money appropriated for security, it's quite a good amount of money. By the way, they take somehow a good portion of the budget.
Actually, the lion's share.
Lion's share, yeah, they take it. But how things are done is something really for us to really to go in detail and find out. Since he's really until the chairman of park,
that's correct.
Really, actually, the onus now is in him to help us, because this thing cannot continue for long like this.
Because if they take the lion's share, does it reflect?
No, it doesn't. That's what I'm saying. Most of their vehicles have no fuel. And these are the people who should be
I
facilitated.
think their vehicles are in the worst mechanical condition. When
Even
you go on the road.
conditioned. Even, of course, even the welfare. Imagine, by the way, by the time I leave home, I must make sure that there is some money at home to cater for my family. But most of these people, especially the security people, are really the most paid people in this country.
The houses are just on the verge of
Yes, you can
crumbling
see
with
there's
their
the other
heads.
place in Zambia and everywhere. What did you call them? In the
Mamenga Paul.
Mama Poi. Everywhere, by the way. So I think now, we members of parliament, it's high time really our voice should be loud and clear that our security people must be catered for. They are welfare and they are people. The moment you leave a sick child at home and he cannot be taken for treatment and you are on duty, of course you cannot concentrate. You cannot be able to be competent. You cannot be effectively execute your work because you have problems at home. So they are human beings.
And we have the chairman of PAC here.
No, he will do it. He will do it. He will
You
do it.
have
But
the
of course,
chairman of PAC.
but you know what the PAC does? It is really
It does post-mortem.
post-mortem. They can't. But I think now we are seeing it and things are coming nearer to us. The most important thing is to cater for these security people, their welfare. Really, like internationally, you know, these soldiers are supposed to be smart, are supposed to have welfare, to have some money on them and their families. If they are happy, they will be happy, of
Just
course.
like everyone. If
Like
you came to
all
work
of
when
us.
things are not good at
So,
home, then
like-
you're bound not to be productive.
Like he said, they use people who have left schools and don't have anywhere, they don't have employment. Their parents were paying for looking for money for their fees. Now after finishing, they don't get a job. You know what happens even in the villages. Oyomrabe, you look at him. They took him to school. What is he? You know, what else do you expect? That's why all of them are rushing to where? To Middle East.
And when you talk about that, it's really a big problem, because that's why we've seen stories of police officers hiring out guns to criminals. That all goes back to how much they earn, what kind of lives they live, and all that. So it's just a time bomb. If these security
I
officers
think
are not well facilitated.
I want to be balanced in this. First of all, like I said at the beginning, and I maintain, and he doesn't want to agree with me on this, is the problem number one. Now, away from problem number one, and this is where the citizens must be blamed as well.
What do we expect them from the citizens?
The citizens. The citizens have an opportunity to remove this government, which does not work for them.
But they have just had elections a few months ago.
That's why I'm blaming them. But that's assuming they did not vote it out. That's a long discussion for another
But
day.
we can
The elections were very clear.
He thinks they were clear.
The results came out.
Indeed, the
That
results
discussion
came.
won't end
But
today.
the
We'll
point,
have
the point, I mean, I've seen in Sudan, they have reinstated the prime minister
Yeah.
of their choice. Prime minister or president?
Prime Minister.
Prime minister of their choice. They have succeeded in that against the military. By the way, a military more equipped than ours. That's number one. Number two, I agree 100%. Our police officers, our soldiers are poorly housed, poorly fed, they are poorly remunerated, name it. And anything in that generic string is exceptionally bad. And, you know, electricity, they just steal it. Water, they just connect themselves and decide national water will not cross the quota guard, and that's it. That's how they've been surviving over the years.
But they should not be paying for them.
Number
I think it's
three, no, they should be paid for. And incidentally, we appropriate money for that, and that has
Where
been,
does it
power, yes.
and that has been a discussion in Parliament. We have quizzed them, but you know, they have a godfather who says, "I don't talk about my men in uniform." Now, talking about security and the amount of money we appropriate, if you looked at the details, one, for the police in particular, they go into operations where a huge amount of the money, a huge percentage goes for operations, so-called classified. Then they use it to buy tear gas. They use part of it to you know, to buy political opponents who they want to cross over, pay for patronage, etc. And to me, this is nonsensical. It simply doesn't make sense. Our demand has been clear. Even recently, when they came to the budget committee for supplementary, we put our feet down and said, look, guys, you were asking for a lot of money. Where is the money? For our men and women in uniform to improve their salaries, their living conditions, etc. That's what we do. But remember, Whereas he said we are members of parliament, we are the government, nothing is done without us. No. The budget is the function of cabinet. Cabinet comes to parliament and says, actually that's why they call them budget estimates. This is how much we anticipate to collect, and this is how we want to spend it. It is the executive, presumably, that Ugandans voted into power to manage their finances. We have very little say. That's number one. The other thing you need to look at...
It is you people, it is us people who appropriate.
Yes, what are you appropriating?
And an oversight role, we have it.
You see, oversight is post-mortem.
Together.
Yeah, oversight, sure.
Yes, it's our role.
Let me tell you.
Ensure that money is put to use.
Oversight.
The beneficiaries get the services.
Nathan, don't forget parliamentary practices very fast.
No.
Oversight. and I chair PAC.
Well.
And I chair PAC. Oversight is post-mortem. Appropriation, I agree. We appropriate it, but they don't even forget. These people went to court and engineered a court decision that we have no powers to touch that budget. Okay, we can only express displeasure. That's what the court said. But the point is, who is the Minister of Finance? The same problem, number one, I told you. We just need to say, enough is enough. We want you to put this money in this sector. Improve the welfare of our police officers, etc. When you go to investigations, one, they're affected by corruption. Because of the poor pay, some of these men are compromised, and women. Because of the corruption, sometimes we employ and deploy people who are not suitable in particular positions. There is someone who should be running on the street chasing thieves because he's well endowed, he's well built, he can do that. But when you go up, he is not fit for that job. And you put him in intelligence because of corruption, and that's lucrative. I mean, we need to look at all those. The way we deploy, even at command level, when you're getting IGP, you should get the best. I'm not saying Okoth-Ochola is not the best. The deputies, they must be people who are trained in this job, not soldiers who are trained to shoot and kill. That's why you see the police is becoming militarized. Beyond that, I think, is if you're a police officer and you think the conditions are so bad that you can't work, leave the job. I don't even want to have a license, to give a license to these people to be lazy on their jobs.
The justification of the bad
justification, yes. I have challenges in my job as a member of parliament. I have challenges in my job as a lawyer. I have challenges in my job as a farmer. Okay? I have challenges in everything I do. If you think,
but that doesn't mean
yes,
that you
but
perform poorly.
that you compromise quality.
It doesn't, definitely.
Yes,
we are talking on as a humanitarian group.
I know.
But you can't.
We need to work on their issues. And by the way, don't forget that when we promised them a million as the first salary, we meant it. Okay? But what did they do in the campaign?
Honorable Nathan, I will come to you for your parting shots because we want to connect to Mbide, who is talking to the doctors about their strike.
Okay. No, to me, I feel really the oversight role of members of parliament, it should, because, for example, if man has been voted to put up a school, even during that period, we are supposed to. Except the problem which the government has been making is when they are doing all these projects, they don't involve the older people. If they are building a school, we would want people to be there to know that this is the contractor, this is the amount of money, the duration is this. The project comes like a confidential matter or issue that is not supposed to be shared. Yet those people, the beneficiaries, need to know the details.
You know, when you say
but
that,
members of parliament must also have an extra eye to check.
When you say that, Honorable Nathan, you're talking about members of parliament checking. I don't know what we will do for you as well, because we have all these committees. You've pinned people, really. You've brought it out in the light.
And what happened to him?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. What we are talking about, we should not get tired. This is our country.
Because if you're going to pin someone and then it ends there, and them being on camera.
I think what we are saying, we don't need to go, like their committee, of course, goes afterwards, you know, it's a post-mortem. But during the process, like now time, schools are being built, you know, roads are being done. Why can't the committees, relevant committees, go to carry, which they are doing now? So there must be there are shortcomings everywhere, wherever we go, because of what, like he says, inefficiencies, which is not only on officials, even us, even as members of parliament.
Okay.
We must really be to task. We should be put to task to do our job diligently.
Let me now tell you, these guys are very smart. When we were doing that oversight you're talking about, do you know what they did? These committees are disturbing us. They cut our budget.
Honourables, thank you so much for making the time. It's been a pleasure having you. We'll have this discussion because it's surely long and long. Because I even wanted us to talk about the justice system.
Yes.
There are Twine, we were talking to Twine, and he said they have investigations they've completed, but they've not heard anything from the DPP ever since they said, look,
that's the PS.
You know, that's Twine, the spokesperson of the CID.
Oh,
and that's hard now.
okay.
But that's a discussion for another day. We now want to connect to Mbide. He's in Chevando with one of the doctors to put into perspective the strike, the reasons for the strike, and what they expect to get, or what they will do if nothing comes to life about this strike. Mbide, are you ready? Good morning.